This card don't read so good. Wake up. This card in the set. What the hell is this? Best in show. All right, what is up, my friends? Welcome to the complete set review for Final Fantasy. That's right, Final Fantasy complete set review. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe on YouTube. Check out the old YouTubes, all right? We're doing all this in sections. We've already done white, blue, black, red, and green. So you missed those, go watch them. They're on YouTube. Make sure you like each video, comment, subscribe, support the content. A lot of work goes into these set reviews, and your support makes that possible. I do it. I'm doing it for y'all. All right? I'm doing it for y'all. Don't laugh at me. So, we're getting into Multicolor now, which is obviously a big section. There are a ton of legends in this set. And we're going to do our awards and everything else. Reminder, tomorrow is 10 New Brews. 10 New Brews on the early access, where I'll be playing my 10 New Brews, playing all the new cards. It's going to be a lot of fun. 2 p.m. is the start time. I'll be on all day. And of course, those will be up on YouTube as time goes on. And yeah, check that out. Let's rock and roll. And jump right in here with our very first card in Absolute Virtue. Probably could have gotten the Trap Award, but 8 mana for a legendary avatar warrior. It's an 8/8 flyer if it can't be countered. You have protection from each of your opponents. You cannot be dealt damage, enchanted, or targeted by anything controlled by your opponents. So, very Platinum Angel-esque, right? Where big dumb thing, if it's in play, your opponent can't win. But it has no self-protection. It can't be countered, but it just dies to Doomblade, Sunfall, a Stiff Breeze, whatever else, just gets out of here and dies. And that's an issue, right? If you're going to reanimate this, you might as well just get a Traxxas, some other big idiot, and pretty hard to cast too. So, not very exciting, I think, overall. It's a fun card, the kind of card that makes newer players go, what? Inconceivable! You can do this? Which is really cool, honestly. I think it's really, really cool to have different cards for different people. But as far as, competitive 1v1 goes, this card is not going to do very much, I don't think. Maybe it's a turn in Commander, sure. And then in Limited, 8 mana is a lot. This can maybe be a splash in like a blue-green ramp deck. It's probably where you'll see the most play. But yeah, very, very expensive, very, very clunky. Really cool art, cool flavor. But for the most part, as far as winning games of Magic goes, this card is just kind of medium. Balther and Faren. 3 mana for a Grul legend, a 4/3 with reach. These stat lines are crazy, right? 3 mana 4/3 reach. Vehicles you control get +1/+1 and also have vigilance. Have vigilance and also reach. Whenever a vehicle crewed by Balthar and Fran this turn attacks, if it's the first combat phase, you may pay 3 mana, and if you do, get an extra combat step. So, really weird card. It's like a vehicle synergy card in red and green. We do have Aether Drift legal, as well as some artifact cards from prior sets. That being said, there aren't exactly a lot of great vehicles floating around, so this just feels like a commander card. Go play Smuggler's Copter, yay! Play cool vehicles from Magic's history. For Constructed, I just don't see this card ever doing anything. For Limited, it's fine. A 4/3 reach for 3 is actually pretty nice, and there are some vehicles in the set. But yeah, this is just like, Limited 4/3 for 3, and then Commander card, and then not much more. It does crew World Wagon, that is true. That is a viable vehicle in the colors, but that's probably not very exciting. Black Waltz number 3. You fool. Do I look like some lowly black mage soldier? No. Black Waltz number 3 is a legendary wizard. 4 mana for a flying Death Touch 2/2, which is a pretty medium stat line. And if you cast a non-creature spell, this deals 2 damage to each opponent. So if this thing lives, it is pretty good. We have a Gutter Ball, a Gutter Snipe for a little more mana. And yeah, that's really kind of is what it is, It's pretty tough to cast. This is one of those cards in Limited where the turn you play it kind of sucks. In a pinch, you can just block with it, which is kind of nice, where we see a lot of these, 4 mana, 1/1, and 2/2 flyers with amazing abilities that just aren't good because you can't block with them. This thing can block in a pinch. So that does help a lot, I guess. So probably a pretty good card in Limited, honestly. Not thinking about that. And then, Rakdos is all about Wizard Burn in this set. It makes these tokens that do the same kind of thing where it pings for non-creature spells. So, probably a pretty good limited card. Not too much more. Choco, Seeker of Paradise.
Oh, stupid bird!
Welcome to Paradise, folks. We got our sleeper card. This card is pretty wild. Obviously, a Chocobo 3-color mythic or legendary bird seems like it's going to be like a silly card. But 4 mana for a 3/5. Whenever one or more birds you control attack, look at that many cards at the top of your library. Pick one and put it in your hand. And then you can put any number of lands into play from among them, and the rest of the cards go into your graveyard. Has landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, this gets a +1/+1. So this is the typical Chocobo landfall text. So that's a really good ability. If you ever attack with one bird, you draw a card at the minimum. And if you attack with a few birds, you can draw cards, ramp, landfall triggers. That is a lot. A lot of power on a card with high toughness, kind of hard to kill. And then, it does the thing immediately. And if it lives, it can do more things by itself. This card's kind of gas. I think this card definitely has a shot. It is a pretty powerful effect. I think this card is definitely going to be a banger in limited because it just doesn't seem too hard to cast. But yeah, this card's really, really cool. My sleeper card for this set. There's a lot of good birds in this set. And this card pays all of them off really, really well. And don't forget that blue-white birds was an archetype in Bloomburrow. So all of those forgotten bird cards that weren't that good, that might have, maybe this is a thing here or there, can come back and go, ooh, maybe that's lots in his deck too. So card's really cool. My sleeper pick. Also can't wait to play it in limited. Choco, Seeker of Paradise. Next up is Sid, Timeless Artificer, which has 16 unique arts that I will not be showing you all of. 4 mana for a 4/4. Good stat line, honestly. Artifact, creatures, and heroes you control.
Look at your hero!
Get +1/+1 for each Artificer you control and each Artificer card in your graveyard. And a deck can have any number of cards named Sid, Timeless Artificer. So, this card's very silly. It's, Relentless Rats, yada, yada, yada. That being said, the stats here are kind of outrageous. So it's a 4/4 for 4, which is a good stat line. It has cycling. It counts itself. So it's a 4/4 for 4 that if it does nothing else, pumps your artifact creatures and your heroes +1/+1. But then you can cycle extra copies, make this one even bigger. And if you have other artificers randomly that happen to be, not Sid, that can help out too. So this is the kind of card where it's it doesn't really feel like it should be a real thing, but I think it's not that far off. There are a lot of good artifact stuff. There's a lot of artifact stuff floating around, which is kind of cool. Cycling part's really cool. In limited, if you get 2 or 3 of these, holy moly, that's insane. But even by itself in limited, this card's just a good card. I think if you have only this card as a one-of in limited, it's great. So yeah, this card's nice. Really, really cool card. I'm sure that the arts will be very expensive if you get them in foil. But yeah, it's just a good card, honestly. Cloud of Darkness. 5 mana for a 3/3 flyer with Particle Beam, ETB. Creatures -X for X number of permanent cards in your graveyard. This Descent-esque ability is a Golgari ability in this set. It cares about graveyard stuff. And yeah, this card's obviously a great limited card. ETB kill a thing. It's a flyer. It's awesome. Not much to say here. It's a Shriekmaw Unlimited. That's really, really good. Unplayable, constructed. Emmett Selch, Unsundered. Hey, look. It's me. I'm on TV. 2 mana for a 2/4 Vigilance. Whenever it ETBs or attacks, loot. Beginning of your upkeep, if there are 14 or more cards in your graveyard, you may transform it into Hades, Sorcerer of Elves. This is a 6/6 Vigilance creature. During your turn, you may just play cards from your graveyard. That's it. No limit. Just as many cards as you want. Yagamont's Will all the time. But if a card or token we put into your graveyard from anywhere, you get to exile it. The backside's obviously obscenely powerful. Getting there is not easy. 14 is a obscene amount of cards. Think about how hard it is to get Threshold, and now double it. That is a lot. But 2/4 Vigilance with ETB, Attacker, Loot is a great limited card. Really, really good. Constructed, I mean, a 2/4 body is not bad. You know, you play it immediately, you get an immediate loot, get some value, and transformation not costing mana is pretty good too. It probably doesn't have a home in constructed, but great limited card, kind of fun casual card. The Emperor of Palamcia. 2/4 a 2/2. This is a legendary Izzet creature. Tap for red or blue, but only for non-creature spells. Of course, the Izzet mechanic in limited is non-creature spells. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, if 4 more mana is spent on it, put a counter on this. And if it has 3 more counters on it, flip it into the Lord Master of Hell. Three, Starfall. Whenever it attacks, deals X damage each opponent. Wrecks the number of non-creature, non-land cards in your graveyard. Yeah, I mean, the front side of this card is great. The blue-red limited deck is all about casting non-creature spells that cost 4 or more. This casts one a turn early, right, on turn 3, which is very good, and pays you off for it too. So, phenomenal limited card. Probably not playable constructed, but a really awesome signpost uncommon for limited. The Lord Master of Hell. Next up is X-Death Void Warlock. Golgari, 3/3 This is a signpost uncommon for Golgari. EDB gain 3. End step, if there are 6 or more permanent cards in your graveyard, transform into Neo X-Death Dimensions End, which is simply a trample star 3 with power equal to the number of permanent cards in your graveyard. This is just good. It's a really good draft card. You know, it does not enable itself, but a 3/3 that gains 3 for 3 is just a fine limited card in general. And then we go from there. And if you do the thing you're doing, you get to do the better thing. And yeah, great limited card, good signpost card, not much more. Garland, Knight of Cornelia. 2/4 a 3/2 uncommon knight. If you cast a non-creature spell, Surveil 1, and then you can spend 7 mana, turn it back from your graveyard, transformed as a sorcery. So kind of this flashback. Comes back as Chaos the Endless. Didn't realize that Final Fantasy was so metal. 5/5 flyer. When it dies, it goes in the bottom of its owner's library. This card's phenomenal. 3/2 for 2 in limited. That gives you an occasional surveils, already just totally fine. And then having this 7 mana flashback ability is wild. Really, really good. Just, 7 mana, flashback, get a 5/5, insane. So, bonkers limited card. Probably one of the better uncommons in the set. Constructed, 7 mana of for a 5/5 out of the graveyard is not very exciting. So, it's definitely more of a limited card, but it's signpost uncommon. Does the thing you're supposed to do and does it pretty well. Garnet, Princess of Alexandria. 2 mana for a Selesnya 2/2 lifelink. Whenever it attacks, you may remove a lore counter from each of any number of sagas you control. Put a +1 counter on this for each lore counter removed. So, really, really big build around for sagas. The sagas in this set act like fading, where they are temporary creatures. If you can keep them around for a longer period of time, that's a huge upside. And then if you can buff your lifelinker, that's also a huge upside. So this card is very, very powerful. Really, really awesome card. The question, of course, is how good is it with the cards, or is there enough support for it? Are there enough cool sagas to play? Are there enough cool things happening, etc., etc.? If so, this card's bonkers. Going to be a great commander probably because it has good synergies and stuff. And then in limited, a 2/2 lifelink for 2 is already good by itself. So yeah, that's pretty cool stuff. So really cool card, really fun build around. Definitely a card to go look and see what sagas, are still legal or are in older formats because it plays really well with them. Yeah, just awesome. Really cool stuff. Guillot, King of the Dwarfs. I don't have a dwarf sound effect.
I look like a jackass.
Sorry. 2/4 double strike. Whenever it or another dwarf enters, whenever an equipment enters, discard a card, draw a card. That's great. Good limited card. Obviously limited, the Boros that cares about equipment, and double strike is great with equipment, as is looting. And yeah, this is just a good solid draft card. Not too much more than that, but yeah, it's good stuff. Gimli, son of Gloin. God damn it.
You're saying it wrong.
I've been doing pretty good, honestly, to be totally fair. So, you know, just saying here.
Who do you think you are? I am!
I guess Final Fantasy 15 was set in, like, present day, because it's, like, just a dude wearing a pair of jeans, you know? But Gladius Amidia, 6 mana for a 6/6 ETB. Search for a land, put it in tapped, and then shuffle. Note that it is any land, not a basic land. And then Lampfall, whenever a land ETBs, another creature gets +2/+2 in trample. This is just your, you know, limited payoff for the Lampfall deck. It's a little clunky at 6 mana, but very powerful top end. If I'm playing limited, if I have a red green draft deck, I'd be happy to have this card in my 6-drop slot. And yeah, it's a good draft card. Not quite Primeval Titan, you know, not quite. Golbez, Crystal Collector. Demir 2-drop legend is a 1/4 human wizard. Whenever an artifact ETBs Surveil 1, beginning of your end step, if you would control 4 or more artifacts, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Then if you control 8 or more artifacts, each opponent loses life equal to that card's power. Like, okay, I guess, you know. Realistically, you know, Raise Dead is not exactly the most exciting mechanic of all time. Light Surveilling, whenever an artifact enters, not super exciting. Whenever you're playing an artifact-heavy deck, the burden is on any non-artifact card, because every non-artifact card makes all your other artifact other artifact synergy cards worse. So this card looks pretty bad on like all fronts to me.
Still a piece of garbage.
Probably a fine limited card. 1/4 for 2 with some upside is cool, but constructed wise, just doesn't do basically anything. Hope S-Theme. Spend it for another 2/2 lifelink. However, this one's weird. Beginning of your end step, each opponent mills X, where X is the amount of life you've gained this turn. Another weird ability where we have life gain and mill somehow coming together for a weird duo, and you know, a 2/2 lifelink for 2 is just good in limited. The mill part's a little weird, but I guess, you know, sure. Finding some way to turn life gain into a profitable thing, I guess, is okay. But it's hard to make mill profitable until you actually deck them. So, I don't know. Seems like whatever. Just a 2/2 lifelink for 2 in limited, nothing more. Ignis I've been doing so good, man, and now I'm just falling apart.
It's over. We lost again.
I'm trying, folks. To metaphor, a signpost uncommon in Simic. EDB, look top 6 cards of your library. Put a land card tapped. Resco on the bottom. And this is powerful. Another 2/2 for 3 that can get a land is quite good. Note that it's also any land, not a basic. So you can get towns and all sorts of cool things. And it has that ability where 3 mana tap this, exile a card from graveyard, and if it's a creature, make a food. A little extra value there too. For the most part, this is just 2/2, get a land for 3, which is fine, honestly. Great limited card. Probably not good enough for constructed. I think there are a lot of similar effects that are better than this, but great limited card. Yeah, it's good stuff. Genova, Ancient Calamity. 4 mana for a Witherbloom 1/5 rare. Being in combat on your turn, put a number of +++ counters equal to its power up to 1 other target creature. That creature becomes a mutant, and if a mutant dies during your turn, draw cards equal to its power. Another just like fine card, you know, fun limited card, unplayable constructed, but fun way to, if you can buff this thing up, you can draw some cards, you know, gonna be a really fun limited card, but it's not really super exciting overall. Yeah, just good. It's also notably an alien, which terrifies me. There were no aliens in Dustmourne, right? You know, there were like grays and like UFOs and stuff. There weren't actually aliens. I mean, I imagine the next set we were going to space, so there'll be aliens there, but yeah, all right, sure. It's a fun limited card. Joshua, Phoenix's Dominance. We have a Boros flip legend here. 3/4 for 3. ETB, discard up to 2, and then draw that many cards. So we have very similar to Tersa and a few other effects in Standard. And note that it is draw that many. You can't discard nothing and draw 2. But not a bad ability. And then 3/4 for 3 is a fine stat line. Then it has the clunky, like, you know, a bunch of mana at sorcery speed, tap this to flip it, and it comes back as Phoenix Warden of Fire, a 4/4 lifelink. Chapter 1 and 2 deal 2 damage to each opponent and then also gain 2 life, so it has lifelink. Note that it can only attack once in Chapter 2, but Chapter 3 is return any number of creature cards, mana value 6 or less, from your graveyard to the battlefield, and then exile this and bring it back face up. So it gets to come back as Joshua, ETB, discard more cards. So, I mean, this card is fine. You know, the front side, it's really important to judge these legends on their front side because the sorcery speed, a bunch of mana, tap this abilities are not going to happen very often. And the front side here is not bad, you know. That being said, there is a extreme, you know, wealth of 3 mana cards currently in standard that draw and discard. Steam Core Scholar, Tersa, etc., etc. So there's competition, but this card's pretty cool. Really, really fun limited card. Constructed, I don't know. Maybe the backside is really, really good. It's a very powerful backside. Judge Magister Gabranath, 2/4, a 2/2 uncommon Orzov creature. Is a signpost uncommon for Orzov. It's a menace card. Whenever an artifact or creature dies, put a counter on this. This card is good. Very, very good. Insane payoff for sacrifice stuff. You know, definitely a card that's going to be phenomenal and limited, but I think very playable and constructed if there is a deck for it. It's also a human. It is you control, which is still totally fine for the sacrifice deck. And there are some good sacrifice effects in standard right now. Bartholomew, Day Whatever, and so on and so forth. Artifacts as well, so treasures and stuff. This card's good. This card definitely has a chance to constructed. Is a bananas limited card. Pretty simple, but very good. Kefka, Court Mage.
It's a trap.
Not quite Nicol Bolas, folks. It is Grixus. 5 mana for a Grixus 4/5. Whenever it enters or attacks, each player, including you, discards a card. Then you draw a card for each card type among cards discarded this way. So they discard a land. If you discard a enchantment creature, you draw 3. That's cute. But realistically, this is a 4/5 for 5 with no combat abilities, no flying, anything else. Nicol Bolas the Ravager, which is a 4/4 for 4 flying that made only your opponent discard. Didn't see a ton of play in standard, a little bit, fringe player. And this thing at 5 mana is not very exciting in a more powerful format. Then it has the 8 mana ability. Does add, and each player sacrifices a permanent of their choice, each opponent, sorry, and transforms into Kefka, Ruler of Ruin. 5/7 flyer. If the opponent loses life during your turn, you draw that many cards. Sure. I mean, that is obviously a pretty powerful effect. That being said, the front side is the important part here. 8 mana is a ridiculous amount of mana. So this card just seems kind of stinky to me. Really fun limited card. Limited Squares card is going to shine. But we've seen a lot of cool Grixis cards over the years that were really, really cool and not quite good enough. This card, it does work with Omen Hawker. That is fair. But yeah, this card's a fun limited card and not too much more. Our trap card for multicolor in Final Fantasy is Kefka, Court Mage. Kunja, Genome Sorcerers next. Rakdos 4 mana 3/4 legendary human mutant wizard. Beginning of your end step, create a tapped 0/1 wizard token with whenever it casts a non-creature spell, deal 1. Then if you control 4 or more wizards, transform this. So again, black and red and limited is all about these weird 0/1 wizard tokens, which are kind of cool because they don't really attack. They kind of just sit there like enchantments, but they can chump block. They can pick up equipment, I suppose, as well. And this thing just keeps making them over and over again. Pretty good limited card. If you have 4 or more wizards, then you get to transform into Transkuja Fate Defiled. 4/6 with Flame Star. If a wizard you control will deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals double that damage instead. Cute, obviously. So, very good limited card. Seems pretty easy to flip. Does count itself as one of the 4 wizards. If you're playing limited, this is a great card. Constructed is, but yeah, I don't know. Cool limited card. Cool bomb rare for your draft deck. Lightning, Army of 1. 3 mana for a 3/2 first strike, trample, lifelink. That is a battler, folks. That is a hard card to block. Has stagger. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, until your next turn, if a source would deal damage to that player or a permanent that player controls, it deals double damage. So, very important to note that first strike here will double all of your regular damage. So you attack with this thing, I attack with this and another 3/3. First strike damage, take 3, and then my regular damage will deal double. Also, your lightning bolts will deal 6, your removal spells, and so on and so forth. The card does seem very, very powerful. Notice it's until your next turn. So yeah, it's on your turn and your opponent's turn, sure. That's cool. But the problem here is that we've seen a lot of really good Boros legends over the years that they're just too expensive and mid-rangey to really make an effect, you know? It is pretty good. Very similar to Glissa, where if it lives, it's very, very hard to deal with. But very easy to kill. And then 2 toughness is dying to burst lightning and so on and so forth. I think as a 3/3, this card would have been pretty exciting. Probably on the same level as Glissa. Second toughness, it's pretty rough. So powerful card, pretty cool card, great limited card. I think he's going to fall just short in constructed. Lock Cole, 3 mana for a 2/3 Death Touch lifelink. Good stat line and limited. Whenever does combat damage to a player, draw a card, then discard a card. Great limited card. It's not much more to say. Would need an ETB ability to be considered for constructed. But yeah, great limited card, great stat line. Just great draft card, great stats. Noctis, Prince of Lucius. Esper, 4 mana legend, 4/3 lifelink. So already pretty good right there. And you may cast artifact spells from your graveyard by playing 3 life in addition to their other costs. If you cast a spell this way, it has a finality counter. You know, not really a constructed playable card, I don't think. In limited, this card's great. A good splash in your, blue-white artifact deck or blue-black artifact deck. 4/3 lifelink is just a good stat line in limited. That's a pretty good beater, so good control finisher. But yeah, another card that just kind of cool, but not quite there. Probably a cool commander card also, I suppose, but it's cool. Omega, Heartless Evolution. Signpost uncommon for your blue-green ramp deck. 7 mana for an 8/8 wave cannon. Whenever Omega enters for each opponent, tap up to 1 non-land permanent that player controls. Put X stun counters on each of those permanents, you gain X life, or X the number of non-basic lands you control. So this is your town payoff in limited, right? Really, really good card. If you're ramping, 7 mana for an 8/8 is a good place to be. And this effectively kills a creature. You're likely to stun for, 4 or 5 counters here. And that's basically killing it. So 8/8 ETB, kill a creature is pretty awesome. Great limited card. Not playable constructed, but phenomenal build around limited. All right. So.
Yeah.
We come to the one. And it gains life. So great stabilizer too. Yeah, sorry. We come to the one meld card in the entire set, which is honestly really weird. Because it's 2 uncommons melding, but whatever, I guess. I'm sure there's some, in-game reason why this is like a flavorful thing or whatever. But Ragnarok, Divine Deliverance. This is a 7/6 Vigilance, Menace, Trample, Reach, Haste. When it dies, destroy a permanent and return a non-legendary permanent from your graveyard to the battlefield. How do you get this thing? Well, we already saw the 2 cards. We saw Fang, Fearless Lassie in black. They went for a 2/3. Whenever cards leave your graveyard, you draw a card, lose 1. And Vanille, Cheerful Lassie. 4 mana for an Eternal Witness, mill some cards, return a thing. And then if you have the mana to end both these creatures, you can meld them. I think this is going to be pretty hard to do. Both these creatures are fairly fragile. Having to spend 5 mana is quite a bit, and obviously if you can get broken up by a removal spell, which is devastating. So yeah, I guess, it's just a weird meld is such a ridiculous ability. It's only ever been in 2 sets on like 6 cards. So like having this as like a random uncommon throwaway is such a bizarre thing. But yeah, sure, I guess. Hopefully we'll do this in draft. It'd be really fun. But yeah, sure, I guess. Fun draft aspirational thing to do. Rinoa Heartilly. 5 mana for a Selesnya legend. ETB, make a 1/1 legendary dog token. Whenever it attacks another creature you control, gets +1/+1 until end of turn. For each creature you control. This is just a limited build around. This is your signpost uncommon for green-white. Green-white's all about going wide, and this card does that. And that's really it. Just a limited signpost uncommon, nothing more. Great card, its draft deck. Otherwise, Rufus Shinra, the other signpost uncommon for Orzov. 2 mana for a 2/4. Whenever it attacks, if you don't control a creature named Darkstar, create Darkstar, a legendary 2/2 black and white dog creature token. A great card. Really, really powerful for limited sacrifice stuff. Attack with this thing, make it 2/2. Sack the dog to a thing to draw a card. Make it again next turn. Great. Stat line's great. Really, really great limited card. Excellent enabler for the sacrifice deck. And then just Vine on rate too. Just 2/4 for 3 that makes 2/2 is awesome. So phenomenal limited card. Not good enough for constructed, but great. Rydia, Summoner of the Mist. Signpost for red-green. 10 for a 1/2. It's got Landfall. Whenever you landfall, discard a card. If you do, draw a card. And then it has Summon X. X tap. Return target saga card. Mana value X or less. Start with X, exactly. From your graveyard to the battlefield with a finality counter on it, and it gains haste. Activate as a sorcery. So this is a big one because all the sagas are creatures, and giving them haste gives them an extra attack too. So kind of a big deal. I don't know what red-green sagas are set off the top of my head. There are a bunch of them in every color. But yeah, this card's kind of awesome. If you're playing a few sagas, even getting 1 back, that's a big deal. And then Lampfall loot is fine as well. The body's pretty bad, so I'd want to have enough sagas to make this card worth it. But if you do, that's a very, very powerful effect. Faren. Rare Selesnya 3 mana 2/2. First legendary creature spell you cast costs 2 less to cast. Notice only creatures, not planeswalkers, unfortunately, so no Ugin. Beginning of combat on your turn, if you control 2 or more other legendary creatures, you may transform this. Important to note, you can do this immediately, right? If I go Legend on 1, Legend on 2, turn 3, play this. Combat happens, and bam, immediately it is Crystallize Serra. Legendary artifact maintains the cost reduction, and then is a +2/+2 for all of your legends. I think this card's gas. I think this card is really, really good. I think this is a reason to build a legendary deck in Standard or in Pioneer, and this is a really, really good job of both enabling it and paying it off. This card's awesome. Card very likely to be in 10 New Brews as well. It's also a human, so for Joda stuff. Any Joda fans out there? Always comes back to Joda. But yeah, this is great. I think this is a really, really great card. Just really good stuff. And then limited of his cards, a little worse, I suppose, because there are less legends floating about. But even if this thing just like reduces the cost of some 6 mana legend to 4, it's pretty good too. So great constructed card. Worse in limited, but quite awesome. Shitato, Tactician Magician. 3 mana for a 0/4 Dwarf Wizard. It's an uncommon signpost. If you cast a non-creature spell, it gets +X/+O until end of turn, where X is the amount of mana spent to cast that spell. If it's 4 or more, draw a card. Once again, blue-red's all about casting 4 mana non-creature spells. That's great. Great payoff for that. Attacks for a lot, draws cards. Good in exactly that draft deck and not really anywhere else. Sin. Spyra's Punishment. 7 mana Sultai for a 7/7 flyer. Whenever Sin attacks or enters, exile a permanent card from your graveyard at random. then create a tapped token that's a copy of that card. If it's a land, repeat that process. This card's kind of nice. The idea of returning a bunch of lands is really, really cool. Random is a little weird, but the body is a good size. It's also on enter or attack. Probably just not as good as like other 7 mana things, but a really kind of cool, fun card. Great limited card. Absolute bomb there. But somewhat Cultivator Colossus-esque, where you can like chain together lands, get a bunch of mana if you have Spelunking in play and stuff. Yeah, cool card. Probably not good enough for Constructed, but it's fun. Squall, Seed Mercenary. 4 mana for a 3/4. Legendary creature, Human Knight Mercenary. Rough Divide. Whenever a creature you control attacks alone, it gains double strike. Okay. Whenever Squall deals combat damage to a player, return target permanent card mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. I will say, we are now late in the set review, and I am somewhat disappointed by there are so many 4 mana legends with a combat damage trigger. Like so many. There's like 7 in the set that are all feel very, very samey. It can get double strike, which is cute. It can also double strike a thing already in play, but this card is clearly not playable and constructed. This is just like a limited card and nothing else. And yeah. To hell, Great Sage. 5 mana for a 3/3 human wizard. Cool art. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, make a 1/1 hero token.
Did anyone order a hero?
If 4 more mana was spent to cast that spell, draw 2 cards. If 8 more mana was spent to cast that spell, sacrifice Tella, and it deals that much damage to each opponent. So, kind of like Young Pyromancer, if Young Pyromancer was bad. 5 mana 3/3 is pretty awful. This is a really good limited card, but constructed, this is just so far below the bar. Yeah. Really, really, really old Pyromancer. Good limited card, though. Terra, Magical Adept. We have a Grul 4/2, ETB mill 5. Put the 1 enchantment card milled this way into your hand. Pretty powerful. If this, draws a card most of the time, this card kind of goes, and 4/2, 4/3 is quite good as well. So definitely a card that needs a deck built around it. This is not a card you just like toss into your deck. But the upside is there. 4/2, draw a card, put some cards in the graveyard is pretty nice. 5 is a big look. A lot of cards in the bin. Don't know what deck wants this card, but the effect is quite powerful. Then it has the expensive bunch of mana, tap this, transform it, and it turns into Esper Terra. I suppose there are white, blue, and black symbols on this card. This is a 6/6 flyer with 3 chapters to start that all say, create a token that's a copy of target non-legendary enchantment you control. It gains haste. If it's a saga, put up to 3 lore counters on it, and then sacrifice it at your next end step. So this copies your enchantments. If they're creatures, it gives them haste, which is kind of cool. You give it 3 times sneak attack. And then on the last chapter, you add double Wooburg and then flip it back into, not Titus, back into Terra, mill 5, get an enchantment, and so on and so forth. So, pretty cool, but really, really obtuse. Where in the world does this thing go? I don't know, but pretty powerful. Could also attack twice as a 6/6 flyer, which is pretty good too. So, yeah. Weird card, but cool. Next up is Titus.
I am disgusted.
Orsorius, signpost uncommon. We have a 2/1 for 3. Titus, my bad. Whenever an artifact you control enters, put a counter on this. Whenever it attacks, tap a creature opponent controls. This is just the, signpost uncommon. Hey, if you're playing blue-white, play artifacts. Problem is, it's not an artifact itself. So again, makes all of your other artifact cards worse. I think this card is just okay. You got some work to do before it actually is good. I mean, to play at least 2 artifacts, but is what it is. Pretty clear this card is going to be good. It's going to be good in your draft deck if you have 10 artifacts in your deck. Simple as that. Ultimecia, Time Sorceress. 5 mana for a Dimir Legend, 4/5. This is an uncommon. Whenever it enters or attacks, surveil 2. In the beginning of your end step, you may pay 8 mana and exile 8 cards from your graveyard. And if you do, transform into Ultimecia Omnipotent. 7/7 menace with time compression. When it transforms, Time Walk. That is powerful. So, blue-black is kind of like the control color pair in Limited. This card is clearly a win condition for that deck. Decent body, surveil, and then, in the uber late game, it's a sick win condition. Yeah, just fine draft card for a controlling blue-black deck. Expensive but powerful. That's what you want in your draft deck. Vivy Orniter. Vivy Orniter. This card's kind of wild, right? 3 mana for it isn't mythic. It's a wizard. It's an 0/3. It has 0 at X mana in any combination of colors. So I'm sorry, in any combination of is it colors, where X is this thing's power. Only during your turn. Only once. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put a counter on this and deal 1 to each opponent. So it does have the issue of you play this on turn 3. You can't play other spells, it's just an 0/3. So you want to play this into other spells. But that being said, in older formats with free spells, holy moly. If I go turn 3 this, Mishra's Bauble, Mox Amber, then I can activate for 3, make 3 mana, and cast more spells. Pretty wild. So this card needs help, but the ceiling is out of this world good. It's a wizard also. Mutagenic growth, I don't know. Cantrip, even just opt. If you just play this thing untap and go opt, and then activate it for 2 mana and cast a 4-drop, that's pretty insane. So don't know exactly what deck wants this card, but it is a ridiculously powerful card. Honestly, the power level among all these legends feels so flat that I wasn't really sure what to choose here. But yeah, whether you're storming, whether you're buffing it with Monstrous Rage, this card's got an obscene amount of potential. That's why it's the best in show for the multi-card section. And great limited card too. Wonder spells. And you cast Wonder spells, it becomes really, really hard to kill. So there's your best in show. Vivy Orniter. Good stuff. The Wandering Minstrel. 2 mana for a legendary 1/3. This is a rare. Lands you control enter untap. So this is a spelunking. Beginning of your combat in your turn, if you control 5 or more towns, make it 2/2. That's all colors. Pretty cool. And then Wooburg, +3. All other creatures you control get +X on the turn. Where X is the number of towns you control. So this is very, very obviously the town commander. It's got Wooburg in it. Play all your towns, do all your thing, yada, yada, yada. That being said, a 1/3 spelunking that makes a 2/2 every turn when you have 5 more towns in play is pretty cool, honestly. This card will probably be in my town deck. I'm definitely building a town deck. So pretty cool there. In Limited, a little harder to get 5 towns, but it's funny. There was a college near me called 5 Towns College. Not funny, I guess, but still very good though. So yeah, and 2 mana spelunking, could maybe see play in spots where spelunking sees plays also. Could be an Amulet Titan card. It's an amulet you can pack for in theory. But yeah, cool card. Definitely a fun one. Has a lot of cool applications, flexibility. Probably at its worst in Limited, but still fine there too. Yuna, Hope of Spyra. Selesnya, 5 mana for a mythic rare, 3/5. During your turn, Yuna and enchantment creatures you control have trample, lifelink, and ward 2. So that's all of your sagas, as well as all the enchantment creatures from past sets like Duskmourn. Beginning of your end step, return up to 1 target enchantment card from your graveyard to the battlefield with a finality counter on it, and that is pretty damn good. So this is a 3/5 Zombify for enchantments, and there are plenty of big, powerful enchantments. We saw that 8 mana saga in white that makes knights, as well as, other big things too. So, could even get omniscience, I guess, but that's kind of sketchy at end step. But yeah, pretty powerful card. That reanimation effect is very, very powerful. Could also just play it in a deck full of enchantment creatures to give them a lifelink and trample. But very powerful card, a little clunky. We'll need to actually find a home, but if it does, very good. And then limited, this card's phenomenal. As long as you have a few enchantment creatures, this card's bonkers. And even if it's just a 3/5 lifelink trample, ward 2 for 5, that's not that bad either. Yeah, could be the Zurin Domain post-Zur rotating. Zidane, Tantalus Thief. 5 mana for a 3/3. EDB, threaten an opponent's creature, and it gains lifelink and haste. Whenever your opponent gains control of a permanent you control, you create a treasure. So steal a thing, bop them with it, gain some life, get a treasure. Just a cool limited card. Nothing more, really. So, just limited card, and that's really it. So, to recap, best in show for Multicolor is Vivy Orniter. Our sleeper card is Choco, Sleeper, Seeker of Paradise.
Now there's a bird involved.
Kefka Core Mage is our trap card. And there is no Bombin Common because there are no commons. So, Colorless is next. That was a big section, folks. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Support the content. As always, if you like the show, a lot of work goes into the set review. Your support makes that possible. Hit the buttons, do the things, and I'll see you tomorrow for 10 new brews. But all you stream folks, don't go nowhere. We got Colorless coming up next.